I have to say, I miss the good old days where Sony or PlayStation put up banger video games. I think after the PS2, I definitely checked out. PS3, not so good. Well, yes, there is Resident Evil 5, but not many is good.
Gamers tried time and time again to get companies to understand what we do not like when it comes to their latest creations. If we do not like the monetization methods, if we don't like the story or the characters, if we just think all around it's a really mediocre experience, but they really never listen. And it seems that Sony is not learning their lesson when it's come to the massive backlash they've faced with live service titles like Concord, because now we're finding out that their new studio is working on a team-based action live service game that sounds just as cringy as Concord. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, obviously, this new game is years and years away, so we only have a few generic details about it, but it doesn't sound very good. I am, of course, extremely skeptical after Concord's gigantic failure, not even that long ago. So hey, maybe by the time this comes out, my opinions will be changed. But when you're hearing it's going to be a comedy and it's going to be lighthearted and it's going to be a live service, it just ticks too many Concord boxes. So, undeterred by Concord, Sony is expanding its live service army. They just really don't know what the heck to do, because just a few weeks ago, we heard that they canceled multiple live service games, yet now they're barreling forward with those same exact plans, but a slightly different game. It's like they are really, truly under the belief that one day live service is going to be the biggest means of making money for them, right?
Okay, not necessarily. Okay, first off, Sony PlayStation, this is their claim. They claim that they don't have any IP, where I'm certain some of you who collected video games can look at the millions or perhaps copies that line in your back door or closet that's still being untouched. I can even show you the emulator files in my PS2 files. You wanna know how many emulators I got? Emulator games? It is a total of 34 games. 34. And I still have my aunt's PS2 that I have to purchase it when I get back to Johor. And most importantly, I didn't even know how many games that are still with her. That's BS when Sony PlayStation say that they don't have any IP.
That is going to be the most popular type of game within the industry, and it seems that they also are really focused on team-based games right now, which are popular. But on the flip side, whenever people hear live service, they're instantly waving the red flags. And sure, there have been some that have been successful, but a vast majority of them have been epic failures, like Concord. Of course, we have games like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. It doesn't seem to be getting any better. It says, though, after the Concord drama that resulted in the game being shut down after a 2-week stint, many expected Sony to slow down its live service ambitions. It wasn't even just the fact that they put out the game and it only survived for 2 weeks. It's that they put over $500 million into it. They found Firewalk, they purchased Firewalk, they shifted some of the ranks at Firewalk and had them, it seems, kind of restart at least the development partially, and then they put it out for a $40 price tag with minimal content, and then they shut it down. So we're talking about a lot leading up to that 2-week being alive period, I guess. It says, though, but even after 2 live service titles from Bluepoint and Ben Studios were canceled, that doesn't seem to be the case. Sony boss Herman Hulst took to the PlayStation blog to announce Team LFG, a new studio originating from within Bungie, which is working on multiplayer titles for Sony. So
seriously, Herman Hulst really, I mean, it's a good thing that he is no longer the CEO. He's been demoted. Seriously, why is he still employed? It's his reason why he pushes for Concord, live service, and single player. Both can do well if, and I do mean if, you have to justify price tag. Give gamers what they want, don't lecture them or even attack them. Give enough content and make sure the game is playable, no bugs, no glitches, no server issues, and the gaming market will decide. They will decide for themselves. Otherwise, it will be useless to justify $40, $50, or even $80 for that matter.
From within Bungie, which is working on multiplayer titles for Sony. So the new studio isn't just Bungie staff, with the team reportedly having developers, quote, who shipped titles like Destiny, Halo, League of Legends, Fortnite, Roblox and Rec Room, as well as industry newcomers with fresh creative perspectives and skills. We don't know what the ratio is here. My assumption is that they have a couple of people who were industry vets working on this game, but the majority of people are juniors, and they are probably going to be able to overshadow the people who are industry vets. Unfortunately, that does happen quite a lot. Studios bring in newer voices. They feel like, oh, hey, we're giving new people opportunities and this is so good for us. And then those people are very loud, very vocal, and then they end up getting what they want in the game. And if we look at titles like, I don't know, Assassin's Creed Shadows, which was a team primarily made up of juniors, it doesn't turn out well financially.
Now that is quite true. Sometimes you need experience, although some juniors can do better. My biggest concern, if those people attack gamers, then the game they made will surely fail. So far, I haven't heard anything. I'll be waiting to see what it is.
To another article that talks about it. It mentions how the team promises to make immersive multiplayer worlds propelled by action games that players can learn, play, and master for countless hours, and to have players be a part of our development process through early access play tests. Its first project is a team-based action game that draws inspiration from fighting games, platformers, MOBAs, life sims, and frog-type games. So, a ton of different genres, and in a light-hearted comedic world, in a mythic science fantasy universe. So, oh my god, they're just throwing any sort of term at the wall and hoping that it sticks. Now, obviously, when I hear something like this, where they're not giving it a clear and cohesive description, and they're like, it's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that, it does not sound good to me. I'm instantly a bit worried, especially hearing that it's going to be light-hearted and comedic, because there are so many games that follow the kind of Guardians of the Galaxy formula now, where it clearly is a product made for adults, like a movie or a video game, but unfortunately they add a lot of sophomoric humor to it, which I'm fine with to a certain extent. But a major issue is that they overdo it, right? They think one joke is funny, so they repeat that joke 5 different times, or they say it 5 different ways. And when I'm hearing it's going to be lighthearted and comedic, sure, I think of something closer to maybe like a Fortnite that doesn't take itself so seriously, but is that really the type of game that people are looking for right this second? I'm not necessarily sure. It sure as hell doesn't sound like Sony is really understanding the backlash that they've been facing over live service games, though.
For starters, Sony's not gonna listen, because just like Endymion would say, there's a bit of a civil war between Sony Japan and Sony America. Sony Japan want PlayStation to return to its original root, to create good games, not just live service, but single player. People have seen the success of Black Myth Wukong. They knew that single player is still a thing. Yes, even though live service is now the norm, single player, well, most people still think that single player is dying, which is not. Black Myth Wukong proves it. Regardless whether you want to do live service or even single player, if you really want to justify the price, then here's the kicker. You have to make sure it's not filled with bugs, glitches, server issue, or even better yet, it's not a broken game. If you really want to justify that, you have to make sure all those things that I mentioned is not there. 100% playable. Otherwise, why bother with the price tag? Whether it's $40 or even $100 for that matter. Man, I miss the good old PS2 days. I mean, for me, it was the PS2 that really get me into gaming. Kingdom Hearts was the one that get me into JRPG. House of the Dead was the one that introduced me to survival horror such as Resident Evil. Man, those days, those were the best. And my first time playing Resident Evil 4, ooh, that was a life-changing. I didn't expect to experience it and wanted to do it again years later.
Certain. And of course, not even that long ago, PlayStation had canceled 2 unannounced live service games, so we thought that maybe they were actually going to start listening to us. They were going to backpedal on this idea a little bit, but Now we know that that's not the case. Sony has reportedly canceled 2 unannounced live service games that were in development at Bend Studio and Bluepoint Games, respectively. Bloomberg reports that Sony has ended production on 2 live service games that were in the works at Bend Studio, best known for their zombie game Days Gone, and another separate game in the works at Bluepoint, best known for their remasters of games like Shadow of the Colossus and the Demon's Souls remake. The Bluepoint game was reportedly a live service God of War game, according to Jason Schreier. A Sony spokesperson confirmed the cancellations to Bloomberg. Sony also added that neither studio will be closed and that they will work with them to determine what are the next projects from these 2 studios. So I guess, hey, at least these studios aren't being completely shut down because they have made some good stuff in the past, but I don't think anybody was really asking for a live service God of War game. I don't really think anybody's been asking for live service in general. Sure, we have seen some successes, right, like Helldivers 2, but a lot of these games have been flops. Most notably on this channel, I have talked about Rocksteady and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. This is a game that they went all in with that was supposed to change the future for Warner Brothers games, because that Wonder Woman title, that was actually originally a single-player game, but then they shifted development to it being a live service game, and then after Kill the Justice League's failure, they shifted it back to being more of a single-player story-heavy title, and of course, they straight up canceled that, but they had even shifted the development of that to being more of a live service game. And then of course titles like Multiverses came and went and flop.
I think after Rocksteady made Kill the Justice League, people are now starting to see things through a raised eyebrow. Not just the Sweet Baby Inc. You can make a good live service, but the one thing you need to do is do it differently. Take a look at Marvel Rivals. They do something different from Overwatch, because the creator of Marvel Rivals know that they need to create something different. They can't just copy Overwatch. So what they do, the creators of Marvel Rivals, this is just my theory, I had to assume they predict that many Overwatch fans will also be comic book fans. That's right. Think about that. Because they're not just appealing to players or Overwatch players, they also want to gain comic book fans. And even comic book fans want to see a similar version that is in the comics that, well, the MCU refused to show, or even the animated, but Marvel Rivals showcase it. And they do a better job. I think there is a Thunderbolts version of Yelena? No wait, Black Widow or something in Marvel Rivals. I had to recheck.
Service game, and then of course titles like Multiverses came and went and flop. It says though Rocksteady Studios, once heralded as the visionary developer behind the Batman Arkham series, has suffered yet another blow in its decline, with reports of end-of-year layoffs in 2024 caused by its Sweet Baby Inc. infected failed live service co-op shooter KTJL. I don't think that Sweet Baby Inc. was the only reason why this failed, though. I understand that this was the game that was being used as a primary example when Gamergate 2 really went underway. Of course, before that, we had games like Alan Wake 2 that were being talked about, but this was really the straw that broke the camel's back and brought a lot of people's attention to SBI. But it just was a trash game all around. There was really nothing with this title to praise. We know that Warner Brothers reportedly lost a staggering $200 million on the game, which failed to gain traction with players despite years of anticipation. And by December, Rocksteady confirmed it would cease producing new content for the game in 2025. Those servers would still remain online. Who knows how long that's actually going to be the case, though. So they stopped development. They didn't really have anything else to add to the game. They didn't want to put any more money into it. Initially, it sounded like they wanted to make another game with the Suicide Squad. That's definitely not going to happen now. Rocksteady's gone through major layoffs. Warner Brothers Games in general has gone through a lot of hell because of their live service failures. And when I see posts like this and announcements like this, a new studio at PlayStation working on a team-based live service game with a light-hearted comedic tone set in a mythic science fantasy universe, it just sounds like Concord 2.0.
Honestly, I think the only live service that's going to survive is, in fact, Marvel Rivals and The First Descendant. Yeah, The First Descendant may not be better, but hey, at least they give gamers what they want. Same goes for Marvel Rivals. I mean, is there any live service is going to top Marvel Rivals? I'm probably certain whatever they're making, or perhaps even Marathon, is not going to top Marvel Rivals. If Marathon turned out to be a bait and switch, or perhaps the fans didn't like it, it was alienated, you wanna know where they go? Marvel Rivals. All those Bungie fans, they will leave Marathon and go to Marvel Rivals. It will be only a matter of time, folks. My god, Sony, what are you doing? I think Sony should have known. Although I don't know if Sony Japan is watching this. Sony Japan, before you greenlit any live service games or any studios, check their backgrounds, watch them. Don't let them attack gamers, okay? If they attack gamers, then the game have failed tremendously. You're gonna lose more money, close to $1 billion. Hopefully Sony Japan can listen to that. Let's cross our fingers, but I highly doubt it.
Well done, Griffin. Now we got this airfield secured, we can get a foothold on this island and start pushing the Japanese back. We're through retreating, lad. America's back in this war.
Leave a like and subscribe if you want woke or anti-woke detected, or you just want to see me play games, or perhaps you like trending topics. Visit my second, third, and fourth channel up here or link in the description.